Common values, common goals, common sense. The Common Sense Podcast with Semi Berg.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 15. We're moving along. 15 episodes went like a snap, but welcome. Again, starting out by thanking everybody who's been out there supporting us. It's been a busy year, but it's been a busy last week. I just want to give you a few updates and say welcome to those of you who are tuning in. Spokane turned out once again. So I know you guys are like, weren't you just in Spokane a week ago? Yes, I was. And then I was there last Saturday again. So the Sunday before for a forum in which three candidates were invited, Dave Reichert, Bob Ferguson, and myself. But I was alone on the stage with the interviewer, which was a great experience nonetheless. We had over 750 people. It was amazing. And for everyone who attended, thank you so much. And again, Calvary for hosting it, and everyone else who made it a success. And there was a lot of people and organizational support that made that a huge success. And then we were there again last Saturday. We were there first Friday evening. I don't want to miss that. And we did what is called a Kaizen event. It's Six Sigma methodology, but it's performance improvement. The idea was to meet with teachers and educators to establish a pathway towards educational excellence. And what does it take? And if you want to know how to better educate children or find a pathway to educational excellence, well, let's just go to the root of that and go into the classroom. And who runs that? And that's those teachers. And as I've said before, my goal is to give teachers back their classrooms so they can get back to those educational fundamentals of English and language arts and math and science, and ensuring that that is where our focus is so that children's learning improves dramatically. Boy, we're failing our students and our families terribly. So we had a great meeting. We had a great turnout, great participation, and for all those amazing people who showed up, and this was nonpartisan because education is not partisan. Safe streets is not partisan. Better economy is nonpartisan. I can go on and on. You know my position on this, but thank you to everyone who showed up, and it was a wonderful event. And then the next morning was the Spokane Republican County Convention. And again, wow, I guess it was over 600 people. It was huge, and job well done to the Spokane GOP. And again, all those who supported. And I have to say, for all of you who showed up to participate, to become delegates, or just being guests, this is the epitome of self-governance. And if you want to talk about a constitutional republic, where you dare to create a government that gives power to the people, well, the only way you can maintain that power and maintain that republic, as Ben Franklin said to Elizabeth Powell, is through self-governance. You have to do something. You can't sit in a studio. You can't sit on your couch and yell at the TV and just expect to vote and hope it goes the way you want, or hope for a voter integrity. You have to get out and ensure it's so. And to those delegates and the delegates all across the state and those who have yet to have their county conventions, boy, thank you all for getting out there and ensuring our constitutional republic. I praise you, I respect you, and I'm kind of doing a thing myself, as you know, and with your support. And we had a straw poll, and I'll probably have to look at my phone to get the numbers, but I think it was something like 369 straws and the Bird bucket, and 90 straws and the Reichert bucket. And I looked at the Trump bucket, it was full, and the Haley bucket was not so much. So, well, that's how it goes. And then we have Super Tuesday today. Boy, so much to talk about. What else happened? Lewis County after Lincoln Day dinner. It was fabulous. Thank you, Lewis County, for inviting us over there. It was a wonderful event. So I left from Spokane, drove across the state, made it for the Lewis County Lincoln Day dinner, and what a wonderful warm welcome they gave me. And I have to say, you guys, we talk a lot about the negative side of politics, and I have already told you that politics is no excuse for inhumanity and indecency and incivility. But whenever things get low, I have my shield, which is my faith, but when you meet such beautiful people across the state, it really takes that edge off. And friends who stand by you. I was just talking to a beautiful lady from Snohomish County. She assured me her support because others were saying, oh, no, I'm not sure if she supports you anymore. Or one of my dearest pastor friends who means the world to me. He's like a brother, and I can get emotional right now just thinking about him. People say, I'm not sure if he supports you anymore. Oh, no. He reaffirmed he's with me 100%. And so even in the darkness, there's light. There's a light of faith. There's a light of friendship. There's the light of just doing the right thing. And so that's what we hope to do. We have a lot of questions. So today is not just me running my big mouth, but I would be remiss to say a couple of huge things happened yesterday. I don't know what's huger. The fact that 3 of those initiatives passed and will become law, valuing parents' rights, ensuring that our law enforcement officers have what they need in terms of being able to pursue criminals who violate our constitutional rights or the rights of law-abiding citizens that our law enforcement officers now can pursue, and curbing out-of-control taxes. So parents' rights, police pursuit, taxes, and then we have 3 more that are pending. If memory serves me, this is a great victory. This is citizen self-governance. And as I may have said in my last podcast, over 57% of all those individuals who signed those initiatives were Democrats and or independents. And that is wonderful. That shows common sense. It shows a shift in Washington state towards common sense. People are saying enough's enough. People are saying, I've had it. And those of us who are not quitting and leaving the state are staying, and we're fighting. And that's what we're doing here. And then there was justice at the highest halls of justice. The Supreme Court ruled on behalf of justice and election integrity to say that, no, we will not interfere or support those who would interfere with election. We will not interfere with the people's choice. We will not tell a candidate that a state or any other organization can boot someone off the ballot. That's unconstitutional. So there was justice there. Good things happened yesterday. Good things happen every day if you look for it. Good things happen if you work for it. And let me just say this. People expect some pathway, some easy pathway to victory. And they focus on who can win, and they forget their values, their morals, or that little thing called the Constitution, which should be everything for our republic. No. Hold true to your values, because anything that has ever been worth fighting for was never easy. Fight with me. Let's get her done, but let's do it right. All right. Questions and answers. I'm going to look to the left because we always go to the mail-in, and I appreciate this because you guys, you deserve that because you were proactive enough. But let's see what we have here. Get my mouse working here. OSPI in charge of curriculum. So the new legislation proposed making Washington State OSPI in charge of curriculum. How do we fight? And the answer to that is simply school boards and also the governor, because I don't support that one bit. Local control. The best power that citizens have on their children's education, 28 Alpha.150.230, if memory serves me, and it should. That is that RCW that guides school board directors, and they work for the community. They don't work for the teachers union or the school district. Many of them forget who they work for, but they work for parents, students, and the community who elect them to those positions and who pays those taxes for that school district. So that local control should be there. As governor, I will push for local control, opposite of this nonsense that would take control of curriculum from parents and the school district to OSPI. It is in that law that says if a parent sees something in curriculum that they don't agree upon, that school board, they can put a pause on it right there by law. So this is nonsense. We fight by ensuring we have the right person in office. There's 14 of those Board of Education individuals serving. The governor can elect or appoint 7 of them, and I will. So there's a start. There's a step in the right direction. That's my position on that. I'm just going to see if there's anything else. Okay, we're going to come over here, and if I missed a question here, let me get my mouse going again. There we go. All right, I'm just going to go up here. It's good seeing you guys. Thank you very much. Ponderay representing as always and supporting me as always. You guys, man, you guys are great all over the state. Okay, let's see what we have going on here. You guys know when I pull this, I just saw the image here right back there. Love first. So this is an image. Again, if I put another image up, it would pan and you'd have about over 600 people in this amazing church in Spokane. And these are folks standing. We kind of brought some fire that day. It was a beautiful thing. But the reason I put this up here is not to see myself or me up there. Love first. You know, I've been to that church a few times. And, you know, I get emotional in churches. Many of you out there know whoever sat next to me in a pew. But love first, that says it all, does it not? Love first. We forget that. I won't. You hear me say it all the time, and I know many of you go, what kind of Green Beret, what kind of Special Forces, military, former Marine guy are you? You talk about love all the time. Well, you know what? That's just how I roll. We need to get back to a little bit more love, and Dr. King knew what that was about. Okay, Pete, here we go. What is your position regarding a deposit on recyclable containers? Wow. You know, I haven't given it much thought. I know Oregon does that. They've been doing it for forever, it would seem. And so the way that system typically works, and you guys can chime in if you know something that I don't know, but you pay more for your product. So let's just say for a can of soda or a bottle of soda, and then you get that 5 cents back or whatever it is when you return it. And so it's a wash, but it keeps that recycling going. So it's environmentally friendly, which I support, and I think that's great. And then for those who don't, and unfortunately for those individuals who litter, and I'm being nice, individuals who do collect up can make money off of recycling, or maybe even gathering, even having people turn them in, and you can recycle and get money for a good cause or for a great organization. So I would support that from an environmental standpoint, but I would actually need to ping and poll the citizens of Washington State to see what they think about it. It's not something I would make a decision on, obviously, but I think I answered your question in terms of what my thoughts are on it. What is your plan to make Washington more business friendly? I speak on this a lot. This is a huge thing, and I mostly talk about supporting small business owners, but the concept is the same in that we need to deregulate. I mean, and an example is this nonsense that would take away our natural gas as one of our primary and most viable energy sources. You know, yes, hydroelectricity will never touch those dams, but natural gas, really, they're going after that, which essentially is one of the cleanest burning fuels out there. Natural gas that heats our homes, that is an energy source for multiple applications, and they would take that away. But yet at the same time, during the winter spell on the west side of the state, you know, PSE, Puget Sound Energy, was putting out these text messages saying, hey, go easy on the electricity, would you please? Because it's putting a strain on our infrastructure. But yet you're going to take away natural gas, those fireplaces. How about those appliances? You know, everybody laughed when Cortez from New York City, right, part of the squad was talking about that. We said, oh, she's cray-cray, we're not going to pay attention to her. But look what we're doing in Washington State. My friends, this is all part of that agenda. And it's really, well, it's a global agenda. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a scientist. I'm a fact checker. I'm not a conspiracy maker, right? They are literally targeting us as citizens. When you take away our vehicles and you talk about electric cars and electric ferries, where are the electric airplanes? Yeah, maybe they figured out too many would be falling from the skies, but no, it's okay for ferry boats. Oh no, we don't have those now, do we? And so we're actually short. And who suffers? Those tens of thousands of commuters who have to go back and forth every single day. That's commerce. Those are people going to work. Those are people making a living, but no one talks about that. It's crazy. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the infrastructure for our electrical grid, those substations. I've talked about this. And so I apologize. I digress. I didn't get specific, so let me do that. So deregulation, if by taking natural gas away, that's going to cost housing builders more money. It's going to hurt the purchasers on the end, right, on the purchase end, because it costs more money to produce a home. So now the cost of living, affordable housing goes up, and we're already short. The reason we have a housing crisis is because we don't have enough units in the market right now. That is something we should be looking at. We should be talking to our builders association and working with developers to produce more, but we don't. We do everything that we can to inhibit. How about taxation, employee payroll taxes? If you ever have to pay quarterlies as a business owner, you're struggling to keep those doors open. I mean, we talked about small farms last podcast, I believe, that they're getting squished out of the market by the big farms. When you have these H-2A programs and you have this wage rate that says, well, it's $19 an hour, and then on top of that, you have the highest minimum wage in the nation. There's just so much that is going against our business owners. And so where am I at? No, we're not only going to suspend taxes for my first term in office, which means no new tax raises at all for 4 years. And that's only while we're conducting that third-party audit of all state programs and all state offices, so we can get a handle on where the money is going, how programs are performing, so that we can calibrate and dial them in to perform better. I did say more better, didn't I? So they can perform more efficiently, more effectively, and so that we save taxpayer dollars. I anticipate billions within the first year or two. And we should be giving tax dollars back to you. We should be incentivizing businesses to do business in Washington State. Over 50.7% of all people who are employed in the state are employed by small business owners. So we need to support our small businesses, not weaponize L&I or Department of Revenue or these other marble cake organizations. We need to start supporting our business owners, because when we bring in big business, good business, small business, when we spark innovation and creativity within our technology sectors in Washington State, we bring in good paying jobs. Don't even get me started on trades and bringing those in early, starting in middle school with mentorship programs, junior apprenticeship program by 9th grade, graduating with a full 40-hour-a-week, good-paying job. Get out of your mom's basement. So there's a lot we can do. It starts by taking down the costs. In restaurants with the liquor license or the liquor costs, highest in the nation, and then you have costs on top of that, it just gets out of control. So there's a lot that I plan on doing. I just don't want to take up the whole amount of time that we have, because I could just on that. We did that. Will you debate Reichert before the primary? Oh my Lord, who asked this? This was Ira, just so people don't think I made that one up. Boy, that's a fiery question. Probably because I get fired up thinking about it. No, we were supposed to debate February 8th. Dave McMullen set it up. Then he forgot that he set it up, and then went silent on it when Brandy called me a liar saying I made it up. Oh, no. He backed out of the debate, and then now he refuses to debate. And now we understand. So the debate was there. He backed out. He doesn't want to debate. I said I don't blame him. I get it. It is what it is. He will not debate me. He gets asked that all the time. He's on video saying it. A 15-year-old in Clallam County at their Central Committee meeting asked him, will you debate Semi Bird? No, I will not. The story hasn't changed, so he's consistent in that. And that is not a slam on him. I give respect to our former congressman and to our former sheriff in King County. It's not a slam, but I think the citizens deserve to hear candidates debate. And it's not like that national nonsense where you're going after each other like cats and dogs. That was embarrassing. We would both be gentlemen on the stage. I know it. I know we would. And so there's no reason why we should not have a discussion where citizens ask questions. And by the way, I don't do that fake give me the questions in advance. This is about as close as you come. And what happens is usually within a few minutes before coming down to my studio, I print them, I come down, and they're organic because I like it that way. It's challenging. It's not fair if you research a bunch of stuff. It just doesn't seem right. So I would love to debate him any day, anytime, anywhere, but he won't. He just won't, and I think we all understand why. I'll be nice. Okay. Let's see here. I'm backing up here. Let's see. I just want to make sure I'm not missing any questions over here. So you guys, if I miss your question, feel free. Thank you, Kitsap. It's nice to see that. Boy, there's some opposite over there, but that's okay. We don't let the one or two spoil it for everyone else. Man, we have some great people on this message thread. I wish all of you who are watching on Rumble and Facebook. Well, I guess you guys are probably on here too. That's how low tech I am. Okay. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. I guess my friend Ted's there, Gabrielle. Oh, it's good seeing my friends here. All right. I'm scrolling down. If I miss you guys, you're going to have to ask a question and put a few question marks behind it. Excuse me, so I don't miss you. All right, let's go on to the next one. These are good. Carolyn, okay. As governor, what would be your process and thinking around vetoing bad law? Well, without hesitation, I guess my process would simply be this. You review it. You look at it. And the primary thing you should ask yourself is simply this. One, is it constitutional? I say again, because I've heard someone say, well, it's like being a detective and you ask yourself, is it? No. Constitution is the first thing you ask yourself. Is it within the guidelines of the Constitution? Plain and simple. If you don't mention that C word, you're wrong, right? So Constitution, is it constitutional? If it's not, the answer is absolutely no. And I don't care whether I support it personally or ideologically. No, if it's not constitutional, it will never pass my desk, period. So there's the first mindset for Semi Bird, because the Constitution is my foundation of governance as governor for Washington State. That's what you guys are going to get, unless the people choose to change it, which I always assert it doesn't need to be rewritten, it needs to be reread. So there's that. And then the next thing would be, what is in the best interest of the citizens of Washington State? And is this something that needs to go to the citizens for a vote? That should be the next thought. So, Carolyn, great question. Great question. I appreciate that. You give me an opportunity to kind of explain my process. It's probably one of the better questions I've ever seen. Do you support ending mail-in ballots? Yes, I do. And requiring voter ID? Yes, I do. So I will be writing an election integrity law, a bill. So prior to me being sworn in, I will write an election integrity law, which will require, I will propose to legislation under Article 3, it's my right as governor, to propose that we do in-person, oh my Lord, in-person voting, that it requires voter ID, that we clean the voter rolls consistently, and that they're checked and validated. We get rid of that ERIC system, right? And then we do forensic audits as needed. So our voter integrity, our election integrity should be bulletproof. It should not be something that we have to hide from. And by the way, on that, transparency. So if someone wants to see how votes are counted, by all means, we have cameras, we have tapes. If you're going to require storage and tapes and video of gun shops, why the heck not for our election centers? There's that, huh? So, no, absolutely. And that was from Jim. Jim, thank you. No, I'm an election integrity fan. And I teased this up. We're going to be doing a press release pretty soon for this upcoming election. Spread this around. So this is the teaser again, second podcast that I'm doing this. There is a cutting edge technology tool with independent servers that we will be utilizing, where you can go online and choose and select your candidate of choice. This tool will eventually be available to whether you're a Democrat, Independent, Republican, it doesn't matter, right? It's a tool to validate that you're mail-in until we get that changed, right, is correct. So if we know that we won this precinct and at the end of that November count, it's not right, well, then we can look at this system, which is secure, and go, wait a minute. It's the teaser. More to come on that. Thank you, Jim. Julie, Washington is a member of the ICLEI, which is from the UN Agenda 2130. Okay, boy, we need to get away from this globalist agenda. Will you get us out of the ICLEI? Okay, you guys, I don't remember the acronym. It is the International Council for something economic. It is, exactly what she said. It is, and I'm familiar. I just don't remember the acronym, and I did not look at this prior to the podcast because, like I said, true story. And Julie, if you're watching, you can vet me out and tell me if I'm accurate. I know exactly what she's talking about. So Washington State, throughout our state, if you actually Google this while I'm talking, you'll know whether I'm talking truth or not. This is I'm say globalist. Now I'm afraid to say globalist anymore. This is an organization that calls upon cities, states, individuals, countries, counties to come together, and this council, they know better. And they tell you what equity looks like. They tell you what climate change practices are. They tell you what right looks like. And they want us all to have the same mindset, right? What proper planning looks like. They tell you all of this. And so this is climate change. This is growth control. This is ensuring equity, and this is ensuring all of these things. And it falls under, so this is the UN's, so 2030 is the year. So Agenda 21 and 2030. Agenda 21 falls in line with the ICLEI. The ICLEI is that organization, right, that supports Agenda, right, 21, that has the goals to be accomplished by 2030. And those goals, again, are, they say, again, to ensure that there's no more hunger in the world, essentially world peace and all of these things, and working together globally, we will ensure that we do that. That sounds good, except that there are strings attached, and we all must do these things. It's almost like the climate change concept where we say, we're going to do away with all of our electric cars by 2030 or 2035, right? And electric cars cost about $68,000. And then we have people living at or below the poverty line who cannot even pay for a $30,000 car, but now we want them to pay for a $68,000 electric car. But we don't have the electrical grid or stations to support electric cars at that magnitude. But yet batteries made in China, one of the highest carbon emitters on the planet. When I say one of, let's put India and China side by side. Let's look at China. Where do they get their cobalt from? The not so democratic Republic of Congo, where they utilize slave labor of children to produce that mineral, to produce those batteries that enrich China. You see what I'm saying? So we ignore China and these other countries who are polluting the skies, but America and other Western societies, America specifically, who has some of the highest emission controls on the planet, you will penalize us. You will penalize our citizens so that you pay 50 cents more per gallon for gasoline, 63 cents more per gallon for diesel. You will penalize citizens. You will put these restrictions on our builders. You will take away our natural gas. You will take away our comforts of living and impose higher cost on our citizens of Washington State because Jay Inslee and his administration and Bob Ferguson, and it's not just Democrats, it's Republicans, it's this hierarchy of uniparty establishment, these associations that have come together. I know, gosh, am I getting too crazy here? I'm looking to the left, I'm seeing all these paragraphs. I'm not sure if you're saying I'm losing my mind, but no. All of those institutions, these out-of-state funded institutions and organizations that are tied to this, and it's not me making stuff up. You can literally, I offer it to you. You can Google what I'm talking about, and then you can call me out on it, and I will stand accused, and I will own it. But I know what I'm talking about, or I won't talk about it, except I just didn't remember Maybe by the end of this podcast, I'll remember what the acronym stands for. But I haven't read it for a little while, but I've read it before. And well, I can tell you, if you go on that website right now, it'll bring up a map. As I recall on that map, it'll bring these yellow dots up or something like that. And you can click on those yellow dots and not only tell you Washington State, it'll tell you where in Washington State and who has signed on to this ICLEI agenda. Dow Constantine was on it. You've got a mayor, I think, in Issaquah that's on it. I mean, I'm going off of memory from months ago last year. And someone over here can tell me if I'm on point or not. So I know what, well, I don't want to act like I'm pontificating, but Julie, I'm glad you asked that. And I think there's some comments over here. When elected, would you support, let me go back up here, because, man, I got fired up on that stuff. And don't get me wrong, there's a separation between, climate change ideology and preserving our environment. I will always preserve Washington State. We will have clean rivers, clean lakes, clean forests. And by the way, we're talking clean forests. We're going to get that underbrush removed. We're going to start doing some cutting in forestry. And I want to make a deal with the federal government, especially when our new president gets in there. We'll make a deal with federal government so we can start cutting. We're going to plus up our lumber industry. We're going to start cutting on state and federal land so that we're going to no more out of control forest fires. I digress a little bit. So when elected, would you support establishment out of state funded institutions to care for those who are mentally challenged who do not otherwise have options for care? So when we say out of state funded institutions, if we're talking about caring, and this is from Gay, thank you. That's different than what I'm talking about. So if there's an organization that has an organization from out of state, but they're bringing value to our state, well, why not? I mean, we're not going to shut down. We're not going to isolate and put, no. If they're helping and they're contributing, I'm not reading because there's a thick question here. But if you're helping to improve the quality of life for those who are suffering with mental illness, I mean, I'm all for it. I'm sure there's more to this, but that's a big question. When these options were discontinued, possibly sometime in the 60s or 70s, and blah, 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 on the streets, because, I think we're tracking. So no, we will recruit more help. As a matter of fact, we're going to plus up our infrastructure for Washington State. And we can talk about mental illness and addiction because I've written on it. It's on my website and I've signed it. Gay, I hope I answered your question. And if I didn't, you can ask it bite-sized for me, please, because I want to get through these and these, but I do appreciate it. And we talked about EV batteries, 1,800. Yes, Gay, 100%. It's out of control. So the weight of the battery, so much we can say, you guys. I'm getting excited because you guys are asking great questions. Haley asks a question here. Semi, will you set the record straight about the mainstream tabloid regarding your being paid by Patty Murray to teach a course? Oh, my. You guys said, thank you for asking that question, Haley. So the supporters of Dave are out there. First, they said I taught DEI. Never happened. Diversity and inclusion. I've talked about this over and over again. And it says literally the lecture I gave, diversity, inclusion, generations, different age groups, cultures, and perspectives. So when people of different age groups in a corporation or organization and from different cultures work together and communicate, value, and respect one another, those different perspectives creates value. Hence the original meaning of diversity and the value of diversity. Not this equity, not this race-based hate DEI stuff that, by the way, I've been noted nationally because when I was on the board, I made the motion for a bill that would teach civics and not critical race theory in our schools. So I've been out there for a long time teaching against DEI, but yet they had the nerve to spin it because on my website it said that title. They just added the E. It must be silent in their mind, but not silent when they want to weaponize it against me. So the next thing that they're doing is they're saying because Patty Murray was listed as someone who, one of Semi's, what did it say? One of Semi's speaking engagement clients. So here's the very simple story on this, you guys. Washington State University Tri-Cities facilitated a workshop on jobs. She was a senator at the time. I think she still is. I'm being facetious. Of course she is. And she oversaw a state jobs program. And they were hosting the workshop at Washington State University. Where I was an employee of the university. My office was just upstairs from the big conference room downstairs. What is my specialty? I was the Associate Director of Professional Development and Community Education. So they asked me to come downstairs and give a lecture on jobs and training. And specifically, my proposition was to ensure a pipeline from high school to work. Sound familiar? Trades specific. So this isn't something I just made up because I'm running for governor. This is years ago. No pay. She was a guest on the campus where I worked, where I was employed as an associate director for WSU. So there's that cleared up. Was she a client or where I gave a speech? Yes. No. And I did receive a thank you card from her. Thank you. But at the same time, people will say, Simi, if you're elected as Republican governor, how do you propose to work across the aisle? I don't know, mainstreamers. Can I work across the aisle? Am I permitted to work across the aisle with the D people? Or is that just only when you can weaponize it while I'm running for office? Are you guys tracking with me? So there's the truth behind their nonsense. When you talk about elitist and progressives, you ever notice why they never talk about Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King? Elitist and progressives. Why they're the first ones to take a conservative and say he's playing the race card. You ever notice that? How elitist and progressives, they are the ones who are trying to divide us. This is that establishment, whether you're a progressive, a Democrat, a Republican, and you're at that elitist class that you look down on us common folk. We don't have a problem with each other because of race, creed, or color. It's all of you up there who want to play us for fools, and you keep bringing this nonsense law, Senate Bill 5044, DEI, into the picture. You keep playing us for fools by making up these lies like this and putting it out there. Well, Mama didn't raise no fool, and I will step to the mic any day, every day, and bring truth. So, Haley, thanks for asking that question. I hope I didn't take too much time on that, but it's just, but they need, and this is not bitter. You guys, this is not me. I'm not mad about it. And it's just, maybe there's a little teensy bit of frustration there because it's like when you work hard for something your entire life, you believe a certain way. And then people just straight up lie about it. That's not right. But you know what? Love is truth, and truth is love. So I think I'm supposed to love those who bring those nasty lies forward. So I'm going to find a way to love you. Okay, there's that. Julie, thank you. Susie says, what is your position on water rights? So here's the deal, and that's mostly for agriculture, I would imagine. She's referring to when you weaponize the Department of Ecology against our farmers, and right now, and I said this again at our last podcast, and I even brought up the statistics, it's like $11 billion in production costs for our for our farmers when you average out all of our growers across the state, and 12.5 to be accurate, and total profits, and then you have 11 billion in production costs. That gives you that 1.5 net. And then when you average that out across all the farms that we have or growing organizations, growers, that's about $53,000 per enterprise. That's not enough to sustain a family, but people don't talk about that. And so when you weaponize our government agencies and you start messing with their water rights and you bring forward these mandatory overtime after a certain amount of hours with seasonal workers who don't want that because they want the way it was because they make more money and then they can go back home because that's what they're typically doing. They're coming up here to work and go home. But these laws and these regulations support the big farming organizations and are squashing the small. You see what's going on. I don't support that, Susie. And so we will protect our growers and our farmers' water rights because they keep changing. They're pushing the goalposts. And the reason I know this, I've sat in rooms. They're my advisors. I'm not a farmer. I'm not a grower. I'm not a rancher. Never have been. I was raised in the city, Seattle. So I don't know that. And so what you need to know comes from those who actually do it. Yes, I can read. I'm an academic. I love reading. I love learning. But that is not enough. You need to talk to the people who actually do these things. And so when I throw statistics at you guys, just know this. I do go out in the field and I talk to people. I have my friend Dale and his son. And Dale, if you're watching, you know I'm telling the truth. They came all the way down from Chelan County to educate me on small farms, small agricultural organizations that are being squashed out of business. They educated me, and they are not the first, and they won't be the last. So, Susie, no, we're going to knock that off. And again, so the next question: how do you plan on helping farmers, ranchers, orchardists with over-regulations? And so, yeah, so there's a lot to that, and you will have a friend in the governor's office once we get elected. There's a lot there. The overtaxation, the wages, it's just not fair. And I talked to a young lady in Battleground when I was there 3 weeks ago, and she brought up the same thing. She's an orchardist, and she can't compete with the big box stores, even though the quality of their product is better. And we can talk pesticides, right? How they impose regulations on pesticides. You would think it's a good thing, but it's not. Okay, looking to the left, making sure I'm not missing anybody over here. Boy, we're just doing questions and answers, and I'm not sure if I'm just running my big mouth too much, but how do you defend parents' rights to choose homeschool? 100%, Katrina, thank you. Yeah, so I'm on public record in this, and again, I stand by it. I support our public school system, but also school choice and homeschooling, funding homeschooling parents without any strings attached. So those of you who homeschool right now, you will be compensated under our school choice program once we get it passed, so that for what you pay for curriculum, what you pay for costs for field trips, and all those things that homeschooling parents do, because a lot of those are communal packages that they do. And again, I'm aware because we've talked. You will be reimbursed, but there are no strings attached. There's no quid pro quo, right? And I say that because I have been educated, and meaning that many parents are worried if we do give you money that there's something attached. And I remember one of my parents in Skamania County, she was very strong about this. And so I'm thinking of her as I'm saying this also. No strings attached. And so, Katrina, I hope I answered your question. I do support homeschooling. And by the way, homeschooling parents yield 15 to 25% higher educational excellence from homeschooling. Students perform 15 to 25% better than any other methodology of education. It's just a statistical fact, but you guys can look it up while I'm talking. Okay. Hopefully I answered your question, Christina. Thank you for that. And let's see here. Now we have Joanne. You see, it is reported that you agreed. It is reported that you agreed to bow out if the WSRP nominates an opposing candidate. To me, that seems plain into their hands. We know that they favor their establishment, uniparty, power-hungry guy. Is there something that I'm not understanding? Okay, I'll sum this up. And so here's the dealio. The Washington State Republican Party came up with this Washington State Convention system, which is another mechanism before the primary. And what they said when they sold this to everybody was, well, if we do this, we're not going to have a bunch of Republicans running against each other, right, in the primary, or splitting the votes, even though we have a primary, which is a jungle primary, which means the people choose, and the highest two vote getters advance to the general election. It's been that way. And if you look back at the campaigns, 2020 and the one before that with Bryant and the one before that, I mean, again, you'll see there was no vote splitting. It was working fine. But they created this new system, and they said, well, if we do this out of the convention, we'll have one candidate that'll get our resources, and we can all coalesce behind this one candidate. And then along came Mr. Nobody from Nowhere, yours truly, who had no chance, they said. And then all of a sudden, we just kept winning and winning and winning. And why? Because we were just campaigning and campaigning, and we were bringing a message that resonated. I was in the inner cities, and they're responding positively along the I-5 corridor in Seattle. And that's why they turned up the heat. That's why they tried to buy me out and get me from running for governor to run for lieutenant governor. And so my friend Joanne, I think it was, yes, Joanne, the idea was that I would sign a pledge to say if Dave Reichert won at the convention, I would support him or anybody else. Dave Reichert has not signed the pledge, refused to sign the pledge. And then Dave Reichert made a video. And Silverdale Seebeck Women's Republicans meeting 2 weeks ago, in which he said that no, he would not debate Semi Bird. Why? I said this is my last podcast because I'm not a credible candidate, says he, from higher, or a viable candidate, says he, for higher, because no, you apparently have no say-so in this. He and the uniparty establishment, the big money, the elite, the political power, they choose who is deemed viable and credible in the state, not you. His words, Semi Bird is not a credible or viable candidate. I think he said it last night again at the Kitsap County Central Committee meeting. If someone's on this chain here that's live, you let me know if I'm telling the truth here. Please chime in and I'll read it if I look in the right time. So I signed the pledge. He won't sign the pledge. So why are we having this convention? It's clearly not two candidates playing by the same set of rules. He's essentially saying, if you delegates choose any other candidate but me, Dave Reichert, I will not support that candidate. But Semi Bird says, delegates, if you choose another candidate that's not me, I will support that candidate. Well, Joanne, you're right. It kind of makes me look like a fool, right? Yeah. Why would I play by the rules, but they won't play by the rules? But the rules keep changing because now, according to the WSRP, it's not required. It's not required, so we don't have to sign a pledge. So should I take my pledge back, you guys? Should I play by the rules and sign a pledge to support him when he won't do the same to me, and he deems me not viable, not credible? What say you, voting public? I already signed it. Can I take it back? You're darn tootin' I can. I told them when I signed it and turned in all my paperwork, I knew there was hanky-panky going on. And I told them, quote unquote, I will give you the benefit of the doubt, quote unquote, and I will produce the email with those words. Because contrary to the establishment, mainstream Republicans, I don't lie. Carolyn's saying pull it. Several other people are saying pull it. Amory says don't pull it. You're classier than that. Okay, no, thank you for that. My mother did raise me right. But I got you, Carolyn, and many other people are saying that. Many other people are saying a lot of other things. So, no, Joanne, I've got you. I got you. And so I am not, and then, by the way, I was not slamming Dave on that. He has every right to be how he is, and the same thing with anybody else. They can vote how they want. They can do whatever they want. This is America. I support that. I support it. I support it. And I can say that a million more times, right? And I got you, JoJo. I feel you. Delmer, oh, my brother, I got you. So, no, we're not going to, Mama didn't raise no fool. We're not going to get played for fools. They've already been doing that. As soon as we refuse to run for lieutenant governor and get out of the way, you saw them. They told me they were going to ruin my reputation. I was good enough to be their lieutenant governor on their slate, on their team. But as soon as I wasn't, I became the evil of Washington State. And they must ruin me in my life, but they can't. Because I am the happiest man on the planet. My amazing wife, Ann, my amazing 3 girls. You cannot take something from me that God has given. Don't get me going. I will give you a sermon right here. Okay. What will you do about chemtrails and all the toxins? Okay, so I'll just explain this. This is from Elizabeth. Thank you, Elizabeth. So there's a couple beliefs, you guys, and this is science. I am a behavioral scientist, not an environmentalist. So it is contrails or chemtrails. And the reason I say that is this, condensation trails. Sabrina, I love you too, my sister. Condensation trails or chemical trails. Here's the science and the beliefs. And just based on what I know, and I'm always open to learn more. Science perspective. At high altitudes with high, I'll think of the word, low temperatures and high, what is it, you guys, when we sweat, when it's very hot out? Help me out with the word. Humidity. Okay. High humidity, low temperatures cause small particulates to freeze, right? And then you'll see these trails throughout the sky. Now, there's a science to that. But there are people who think that there is this geoengineering, that they're using chemicals to mitigate climate change and other things. Again, I'm not disputing anything. I'm all for it. I will find out. I think we should sample. And as governor, I will. We'll put some technology up there, and we can do air samples. And so for those of you, what I'm saying is, I do not know what I do not know. Okay, I have not been up there. I have not seen the samples. I know there's things that you can read, and I've read a lot of different studies. The studies that I've read are not empirical. That supports the chemtrails. They more supports the contrails. That said, you could say, well, those studies are more aired for the system. Again, what I'm saying is, I am open to doing our own research as a state. As governor, I have an obligation to protect our citizens. And so I will find out, and I will take action, and I will protect our citizens. If there was anything like that happening as Washington State, I would do everything in my power. Now, that being said, there is a federal law under the EPA, and this is the Clean Air Act, that prohibits any state from interfering. But that being said, we do have court systems that are there for a reason, to protect our citizens and our states' rights, which is the 10th Amendment. So I'm a constitutionalist. You all know I'm a fighter. I'm not afraid of the federal government at all. Nor am I afraid of globalists, especially. And I know those dangers. So you got the right guy. I'll get the facts. And I'll stand up and fight. There's nothing, I'm just unafraid. So thank you for your question. I'm just looking over here to make sure I'm not missing anything. Weather modification, Marina, I'm tracking with you. Okay, checking. All right, you guys. China buying state. Oh no, yeah. So Tony asked, what's my opinion of China buying state land? No, it's not going to happen. So Tony, I touched on this, and it's worth touching again because we have new subscribers and people who haven't heard all of my policies, and you can't unless you stay tuned. So stay tuned. I have said publicly, and I've signed this. It'll be written and put into law. I'm proposing law for Washington State. I'll have a stack like this, guys. Once we win the election, before we win the election, I have already started. China or any third party broker of the Communist Party, Chinese Communist Party, and it's not just them, will not be allowed to purchase land in Washington State, period. And if they own it, they will have a certain amount of time to sell it at fair market value, or they will lose it, period. That is the law I will be proposing. And again, the laws that I will be writing and proposing to legislation, I will share it with the general public so that they know what I'm doing, so that it doesn't go to the legislation and get hidden, buried, because if it does, then all the citizens will know what, who, and why, right? Accountability and transparency is coming to Washington State. So Tony, absolutely not. And it's not just the Chinese Communist Party. And by the way, on that 2130 agenda, if you read into that, which I have, this is natural assets, natural resources. And so I spoke on this at my last podcast also. And I have to check time. You guys, look at you guys. You get me going. I just start talking. They tried to bring that category to the Securities Exchange Commission on natural asset companies so that big money, big corporations from any country, super rich people and conglomerates can buy our natural resources. And they said it was to ensure climate change goals. Oh, does that sound familiar? That was that acronym that I forget all the words to. But nonetheless, y'all knew what I was talking about. Okay, we're winding down in time. This was not supposed to go as long, but as long as you guys are getting something out of this, I'm here for you. I'm here to answer any question you have. I'm here to put myself before you. And again, have you guys noticed that we do this streaming live? There was a reason for that. And I think now you get it as you get to know me. Nothing fake, nothing pre-anything, all real and organic, because transparency. That's it, John. You got it, brother. I mean, it really comes down to that. And if I don't know something, I'm cool with that. And I'll tell you, and I'll find out. Like I told you, I didn't remember all the letters to that acronym, but I knew what I was talking about. And you can click on that, and you can see that I knew what I was talking about. And that sounded kind of arrogant, and I apologize for that. I didn't like how that came out. So Elizabeth, I got you. I will check into that, and I value your thoughts. I really do. I don't know what I don't know, but it does not mean, oh yes, opinion and zero-based budgeting. Oh yes, in the process. So, we have a Washington administration code, and so this says that simply this: we're supposed to balance to zero every single year, and our budget is not in October; it's in June. I mean, so where's the money going? We have a marijuana tax, we have a gambling tax, we have the highest liquor tax. Where's all that money going? I mean, because in reconciliation and ledgering for an accountant, and I'm not a CPA, but I was until when I started running. I'm a business consultant, and I was decent at what I did. I'm being humble because I'm supposed to be. So I know accounting, I know ledgering, I know performance mechanisms, doctrine, paradigms. That was my life, and I loved it. I loved my work. I loved it. So and you learn how to budget, and you learn the coding system that the IRS uses and other organizations and subcoding categories. We should be able to account for every single penny of Washington state expenditure, right, and revenues. So if we have excess revenues, right, and I know we carry those over to the next year. That's the same concept that Mark is talking about. Then we should also account for where that money goes. But there's no transparency in our budget, right? There's no transparency in our budget. And that's wrong because it's your money. It's your money. You should be able to access it online to see. And as governor, I should know, because here's what I will say. I've read the laws, whether it's 43.06.10, which regulates, it's the RCW for governor role responsibilities. I'm checking time. I have a few minutes. Or Article 3 of the Washington State Constitution, which defines my role. It doesn't say what I'm responsible to that depth, and it should. I should have a job description, something that holds me accountable to the budget. I proposed a budget. Should I not be responsible for your dollars and how it's spent or wasted? I say yes. I say yes. And I say if I'm not doing the job and if I cannot be transparent and show you where every penny goes, gone. I know that seems rough or tough, but it makes sense. Oh my goodness, Marina, you threw something big up. I'm not even sure I can read that much. Carolyn was first. I emailed earlier about veto power. Not sure. Carolyn, I did answer that about veto power. How would you go about vetoes? Oh man, you missed it. It was a good answer, Carolyn. I thought it was good. Okay. Transparency. All right. 405 Katrina. I don't know what that means, the 405 disaster. So that is something you got me on. My friends, we are winding down. We've got 2 minutes. I want to squeeze some more in here. Let's see here. We have here. Is Reichert Washington's Nikki Haley? Well, you know what? I think he's a gentleman. That's what I think. We have different political views, and I've said that. Dave, and he says it, and his supporters say it, right? He is a moderate. He is on the board of directors of mainstream Republicans of Washington, right? I say the board of directors, the advisory board. So they are like, I'm Republican center here. They are over here. And my belief is there's people over there who think that they have to be Democrat light in order to get elected in Washington state. I think that here, when you talk about safe streets, better schools, thriving economy, businesses are thriving, paying more money to employees, We're producing. We don't have a shortage of housing units. We are valuing our law enforcement professionals. Right now, we have the lowest number of law enforcement professionals than any state in the union, and we treat them horribly. So no, we will protect them. We will value them. We will love them. We will honor them as heroes that they are, and our first responders, the rest of them. But I digress, because we lost an amazing, beautiful young trooper the other day, and I'm not going to cry over this one, Chris. God bless you. And his family. No, when we bring these common sense policies that lifts people out of poverty and despair, right? Instead of pandering to minority communities and keeping them poor for generations. Oh, that's right, I said it. So for you elitist, is that playing the race card because I want to lift people up who've been played by the progressive left for decades, checks written and never cashed because they're a voting base? It's a control mechanism. Am I wrong? Am I playing the race card? Because I value Dr. King and what he had to say. And we lift all citizens up out of poverty and despair. And when a citizen that's living below the poverty line has a good paying job, probably in a trade, because that's where the money is nowadays, now they're taxpayers. I'm just common sense. And it's a net profit for the entire state. That's not playing the race card. That's being a smart economist. Yes, I know macro and microeconomics. Riddle me that, mainstreamers. So I'm going to close up because we're going too long. Guys, I don't know what to say. I could go on and on and on, but I cannot thank you enough. So as I wrap up, I want to bring up, get my mouse going here. I want to bring up, so what is my plan for winning the general election? Okay, critical conservative. I'm going to throw that up there for you. I'm going to make that my last question. We're going to go over time. We're not going to blame because that's a victim behavior, because I was going to say I'm going to blame the critical conservative, but I'm not, because I think that's a good question. What is our plan for winning the general election? Here's the deal, you guys. I don't think Bob Ferguson is going to be afraid to debate me. And so when we get on stage, if Bob Ferguson wants to throw all the stuff up that the mainstreamers are trying to throw up, and the mainstreamers, oh, Bob Ferguson's going to crush him. You realize what the progressives say, right? You know, we can't do this because a person's this, and they come from that background and this and this. I'm looking forward to playing their own little game back on them. Bob? Would you really? But I don't have to, because Bob's voting record, we have a 51% increase in rape, and 95% increase in murder, 75% increase in property crime. Bringing those statistics almost seems like I'm being mean, but I'm not. It's just statistics. Bob Ferguson, he was in charge, the chief law enforcement officer of our state during Chop and Chaz. How did that work out? Right? I mean, it's out of control what he has done, and how he and his way of thinking and lack of management, lack of leadership has ran our state into the gutter. We are a lawless state. That is under his leadership just as Attorney General. Could you imagine putting him in charge? So what I say to my critical conservative, when you compare his, Dave Reichert's, my resumes side by side, please do. Look at our education. Look at his education. Look at my experience. Look at his experience. Those are career politicians. I've actually, I want to say this nice, I've been a federal director. I've been a Special Forces Green Beret leader in intelligence, Special Forces engineer. I've had multiple senior level leadership positions, credible positions where I've learned so much. Business consultant, helping organizations to be better, higher functioning, better performing businesses. Lean, Six Sigma methodology, HPI, HPC. So critical conservative, matching skills and abilities to do the job, I'm good. And then the fact that I've been campaigning in the inner city of Seattle and all those urban centers up and down the I-5 corridor, and they're picking up what I'm putting down, meaning they are ready for change as well. They are valuing my common sense platforms, policies, and positions, and they are saying yes. Yes to saying we are no longer going to be a border state. Yes to saying we're going to value our law enforcement and bring back safe streets, better schools. Just because you're in an impoverished community doesn't mean you don't get quality education. We're knocking that nonsense off. We're not going to give you a check, just enough money to keep you poor for the rest of your life and then the next generation on top of that. We're knocking that off. We're going to bring in trades and training, and we're going to lift you up out of poverty. We're stopping that. You will be a first in a long line. So that is how we're going to win. Critical conservative policies, positions, platforms, campaigning, having the right messenger with the right message, not moving over here and playing like I'm someone that I'm not, standing true to the best part of our Constitution, which is the entire part of it, what American values are, what America is, that beautiful melting pot where we value all cultures, we value all citizens. All citizens have worth. All citizens have value, regardless of how much money they have in their bank account, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of their religion, regardless of how they choose to live their life. I'm here to protect their civil liberties. This is what we're bringing to Washington State. This is how we will win in Washington State, because people are fed up with career politicians who write their checks. And who's writing those checks? Those big money donors that they themselves say. Are you hearing what I'm saying? Are you seeing what they're saying, what they're writing? And are you ready to stand together for change finally? This is self-governance at its best, where we, the people, stand together. And we stand united. We stand united as the beauty of America, our citizens. United for change. All right, guys. I'm getting out of here. You guys know CRT. Yes, John. We passed a policy in our school district that said we will teach civics, not critical race theory. So this nonsense about DEI, that stuff goes, because that's racist in and of itself. You teach a child that the color of their skin determines their outcome in life. Look at me. Look at me. You think I play that game? And for those, I'm going to be, oh Lord, give me the strength. Those mainstream Republicans who wanted to, you dare to accuse me of teaching diversity, equity, and inclusion. You think you can insult me like that when I've been teaching quite the opposite? Because I know what the progressives are doing. No, I'm talking too much. You guys are getting me fired up. Okay, you guys knock it off, right? John, knock it off. God bless you guys. I appreciate you. So let's get this thing done. If you're a delegate, let's tell a friend. Let's donate. Look, folks, I mean, right now, go to birdforgovernor.com. Don't be afraid to give. Yes, some people, if you want to mail it in, mail it in. But if you want to donate online, it's this much, right? Give what you can. Let's do this. I just need enough. I don't need millions of dollars. They think they need millions of dollars. You just call me the high-performing, financially responsible, fiscal conservative. Because we are getting further with less. We are doing more with less, just like we're going to do when we get to Olympia. So give what you can. Go to birdforgovernor.com, birdforgovernor.com. Let's get this thing done. I will see you in Spokane for the convention. Oh, I'll be there. And when they try to lock us out of Pierce County, when they refuse to give us a table or a presence in Pierce County, we will not let them steal this election from us. We, the people, will not let them steal this election from us. Whether it's the Pierce County GOP leadership or any other GOP leadership, we are for the Constitution. We are for America. We are going to make America great again. And we are going to make Washington State great again. We already know what's going to happen in Super Tuesday. This Super Tuesday night, we're going to wake up to a Super Wednesday morning. With that being said, God bless you guys. I will see you next week. We'll bring more fire. Thank you for tuning in. Tell everyone you know. Let's give Olympia the bird.